Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the breakdown video for the rematch between Zhang and Joyce as they will compete for the WBO Interim Heavyweight Title on September 23rd on ESPN. Now, before we get into that, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. So, looking at this fight here between Zhang and Joyce, the rematch. First fight was a big upset for Zhang as he broke down, hurt Joyce, swelled up Joyce's eye badly, and got a 6-round TKO victory as he claimed the WBO Interim Heavyweight Title. At first, Joyce didn't want to rematch Zhang, and then Tyson Fury looked as if he was going to fight Zhang, and Joyce then stepped in and activated the rematch clause. So these two will rematch here on September 23rd for the WBO Interim Heavyweight Title. Now, in all breakdown videos, we do the same. We talk about the fight, what it means coming in to boxing, to the division, you know, what could come from it. Then we will take each fighter individually and ask the same questions. You know, what they've done rolling into the fight, ask the same questions, and then at the end of the video is it better for boxing if one or the other wins? And then the final question is, or the final thing is my prediction on the fight itself. So in these championship fights, it is an interim title fight. We will start with the champion, or we go for a favorite and underdog if it's a non-title fight. So let's talk about the fight first and what it means. This rematch is very, very significant to boxing in the heavyweight division now and moving forward. Even though these two are 37 and 40 years old respectively, you know, Joyce is a young 37. Zhang hasn't fought a long career, so they might be able to go a couple more years. But the winner, more importantly, of this fight is in line to fight for the heavyweight title, which is held by Alexander Usyk. But that fight likely comes next year, potentially. And, you know, we know that Usyk and Tyson Fury want to get an undisputed title fight done. And they want to get it done early next year. Usyk is fighting Francis Ngannou. Fury's fighting Francis Ngannou in October, and that's an exhibition. Well, it's not an exhibition fight; it's actually a legitimate fight. But most people, myself included, feel that Fury's going to have no problem with Ngannou. He's going to knock him out, get him out of there, and then the fight with Fury and Usyk will be on, hopefully. And if that is on for undisputed, then we're going to have a couple mandatories still waiting in Filip Hrgović and Joyce. Now, there's also the possibility that Usyk fights Hrgović next, and, you know, Fury just kind of waits for that fight. But the winner of this fight is in line for something major, something bigger, you know? And they're going to eventually get a title shot, or the title's going to go vacant, and they will be upgraded to champion because they're the interim WBO champ. So a lot is at stake in this rematch right here. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be good. You know, I was very surprised that Zhang pulled off the win, but at the same time I wasn't, because I told everybody don't sleep on Zhang because he's got nothing to lose. He's 40. He almost beat the most feared guy in the division last year, losing a controversial decision to Hrgović. And then he went in against the other most feared guy in the division, Joyce, and he knocked him out. He beat him. So this guy's fearless. He's coming to win, and it's going to be a good one. So we start with Zhang. What has he done coming into this fight? Well, we always go back to their last 3 fights, and they date back to last year. He got a first-round knockout win over some nobody in early last year. Then he fought Filip Hrgović and lost a close decision in that fight, in a fight that some people thought he won, and I think it was close enough to call either way. And Zhang really looked solid in that fight. Then the fight with Joyce happened in April, and he dominated dominated the action. Hurt him early and just pounded that eye until it was swollen shut, and they stopped the fight, and he became the WBO interim champion. So heading into this fight, Zhang has been busy, he has been active, so he hasn't been inactive. He's 40 years old, and he's hungry. And like I said, he's coming in with that kind of fuck it attitude. They're both 6'6", and he's coming in saying, hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm here for it, and I'm hungry, and I want to get it done. And I think he knows, knows the score, knows what's going on, and I think he's going to be ready for this fight. And I think he's super confident. So should be, Zhang's definitely ready. Now, what kind of style does he need to have to win this fight? I think he needs to employ the same kind of style. But he does need to be a little bit more on his toes in terms of avoiding body shots. Because Joyce, that's been his signature thing in these fights, is a jab and a body shot that wears his opponents down. And it's worked in his other big fights. So Zhang needs to work the body himself, but he needs to just work his jab, try to box from the outside a little bit, and land that laser left hand down the middle to hurt Joyce again. That's what he needs to do to potentially win this fight. But he also needs to be built for 12 if it goes there, so he could try to tire down Joyce and all that kind of stuff too. So definitely got to be in shape. 40 years old, he needs to be on it. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table and if he can get it done. Now, can he win this fight by knockout? Well, he already beat up Joyce to where the fight got stopped. Can he win by knockout? I think he can. He's already done it. I think he has the power to hurt Joyce, and he's a big boy. He's a banger. So I think the fight can end by knockout. Can he win by decision? He didn't lose by a lot to Hrgovic if he lost at all. I thought that fight was very close. I think he can pull out a decision too. I think he's capable of outworking Joyce. What does a win mean for Zhang here? Well, he's 40 years old. He's already got the biggest win of his career by beating Joyce the first time. A win would be huge. It really would, because he really needs to land that big time showdown with one of the big guys in the division. And a win here would almost guarantee that. He'd be mandatory. He'd have a shot to become world champion. And I think he would get those opportunities. I do. A 40-year-old Chinaman that can bring in a big Asian audience would be very attractive to somebody like a Tyson Fury, somebody like Anthony Joshua, somebody like Deontay Wilder, especially if they have a world title. So, I think a win for Zhang is huge. I think he knows that he needs his victory, and he wants to prove that it wasn't a fluke. What does a loss mean for Zhang? It would depend on how he loses. If he goes in and gets his ass whipped, a lot of people are going to think he wasn't as good as we thought, and maybe Hrgovic isn't as good as we thought, but Joyce is definitely as good as we thought. So it's going to be interesting to see. It really is. What if he loses this fight? I don't think a lot of people will be surprised, but if he gets his ass whipped, if he gets knocked out by Joyce, is that going to hurt him in terms of he's just going to be looked at as an old guy and a stepping stone, a placeholder? He could fall into that mode. But if he loses a close one, I think he's right there still in the mix, and people will probably still want to fight him and take him serious. So it just depends on how he were to lose this fight to Joyce. All right, now we switch over to the challenger in this fight, the former interim champion, Joyce. And first off, what has he done coming into this fight? Well, his last 3 fights date back to July of last year, when he scored a 4th round TKO victory over veteran Christian Hammer. Then he faced off against Joseph Parker for the WBO interim title, and got the biggest victory of his career, breaking down, dominating Parker, the former world champion, and stopped him in the 11th round of that fight to become the WBO interim champion in the heavyweight division. Then he took on Zhang in what was supposed to be a stay busy ahead of a title fight, later on, and he took on Zhang and really got surprised, upset, and stopped. He has a chance in this fight to prove whether he was overlooking Zhang or if Zhang is just that good. I don't know. I think it might be a cross in between. But Joe Joyce is coming off the biggest win of his career less than a year ago. And he's going into, followed by the toughest thing of his career so far, a loss, and a dominating loss, upset. So we're gonna see in this fight, Joe Joyce, how much he has left. If he's hungry, how good he really is. We're gonna see that in this fight. But I don't think he would have triggered the rematch if he didn't believe he could win this fight. If he didn't believe that the first fight wasn't really him and he's going to come prove himself. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens on September 23rd and Joe Joyce, how he looks. Now, what kind of fight does he need to have? He needs to go back to his style, but he also needs to move to the left. He needs to move his feet. He needs to be in good shape. Move to the left of himself, not to Zhang's left, to avoid that straight left hand, because that's the thing that hurt him. That's the thing that busted his eye out. He needs to use his jab to avoid that. When Zhang steps in, he needs to jab him. He needs to jab him. Don't worry about a power punch. Jab him and be moving. Jab and move. Jab and move. And then when Zhang's not coming in, he needs to work that body. The left hook to the body, wear down that side, and left hook to the body, maybe work a jab to the top, and then a straight right hand down the middle. He needs to break down the 40-year-old body of Zhang and try to stop him in the late rounds. I think should be his goal, his mentality in this rematch. And he definitely doesn't need to go for broke and put himself out there. The one thing Zhang has proven in his last two fights is you come out ready to expose yourself and thinking that you're fighting an old man, I'm gonna show you what's up. And I think Joe Joyce knows what's up now, and he needs to definitely box, body punch, and set up the knockout, or be built for a 12-round decision if he needs to do that. Remember, he hasn't been to a decision only once in his career as he went to a decision. He's 15-1 with 14 knockouts. So can he go 12 rounds? That's the big question. Now, can he win by knockout? I think he can. I think he can hurt Zhang. I think he can break him down, and I think he can stop him. One punch type stuff, maybe if he catches him, but Zhang is a cagey guy. It's going to be tough to just hurt him with one big shot and put him down. So I think it's going to be more of the break him down type performance. And you know what? Those have been his two biggest victories to date, have been break him down, stop him in the late rounds type performances, against Daniel Dubois a couple years back, and then against Joseph Parker last year, the biggest win of his career. So, he needs to be built for those, and I think he's going to be ready for those fights. I do. I can see him ready for that kind of a fight. Now, can he win by a decision? I think he can. I think he can jab, box, use the body shots, and build a lead, and I think he can win a decision over Zhang. What does a win mean for Joe Joyce here? Well, it means everything. He loses to Zhang again. He gets bucked down to the bottom of the top 10, and he's going to have to start from scratch. And at 37 years old, even though he's a young 37, that's going to be tough. So a win means a lot for Joe Joyce heading into this fight. It's not just getting revenge on Zhang, but it's what he can do in the immediate future with a victory. He's guaranteed a title shot. Even if he gets upgraded to full champion, he's guaranteed that, if he gets this win over Zhang. But what does it mean if he loses this fight? Well, that switches the script big time for Joe Joyce. And it would be very, very tough if he lost this fight. He really would be hurting with a loss, because he would have to really start over. And another loss, even if it's close, would just be devastating for his career. It would at this point. He needs this victory. It's do or die for him. So we're going to see. Now, we come to towards the end of this video, and the first thing, you know, there's two things left to do. First off, is it better for boxing if Joyce regains the interim title, or if Zhang retains the interim title? And I really think it's about 50-50. And here's why. In terms of the future and skill set, I think Joyce is better for the sport. I do. Because he's a little bit younger, and he's a young 37. Like, I know he's 37, but he's only 16 fights into a career. And I really believe over the next 3-4 years, he could be a serious threat and put on some good-ass fights in the heavyweight division that makes him good for boxing long term. Now, Zhang, it could be, I think it's around 50-50, because I think Zhang, with the whole Asian audience that he could bring to the table, I think that in the immediate year to 2 years max could really draw some fights and some names, you know, to a big fight, to, you know, someplace in that area or market. And I just think it brings a whole different audience to the table, but big audience, that would be a little bit better than Joyce. But I think Joyce long term could be better. So I really think it's about 50-50 in this fight. I think it's about 50-50 who the fight's better for. I think it could go either way. And if it, you know, is it better for boxing? It's either way. I think it's not going to be a bad thing. Now, finally, my prediction. Who do I think is going to win this rematch between Joyce, Zhang, the WBO Interim Heavyweight Championship of the world? It was very tough in this one. I really had to sit and think. They're both 6'6". They're both older fighters. But I gotta go with my gut, and my gut tells me that Joyce was overlooking Zhang. Not taking away and not saying that Zhang isn't a good fighter. It's just, I don't believe Joyce was taking this fight as serious, because he was looking at Zhang like, I got this. You know, this guy's an older fighter. I picked him for a reason. I don't think he's as good, you know, as it looked in the Hrgovic fight. And I'm going to work him. I'm going to dominate him. He was coming out the biggest fight of his career, biggest win of his career, beating Joseph Parker going into the fight with Zhang. So, naturally, sometimes you're just overconfident. And you go in and you overlook an opponent. And I think that is partially what happened, but I also think Zhang's a good fighter. So I think he's somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's, as a top 5 guy overall. I think Joyce is better, but Zhang's better than we thought, if that makes sense. So this is going to be good. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided beatdown. I think Joyce is going to have to get through the first half of the fight and be in an even-ish type fight. And then that body work, and I think a hard jab is going to be the key to breaking down Zhang. I see Joyce beating him and stopping him the way he's done Daniel Dubois, the way he's done Joseph Parker in the later rounds, or I can see it going to the cards and him getting a decision. But I do believe Joyce will win this fight. Now, am I 100% confident in this pick? Not at all. I think Zhang, very live underdog. I think he potentially could be better than we thought overall, and he could be a legitimate top 5 guy even at the age of 40. And I think he has a real shot of repeating what he did back in April. It's going to be good. I can't wait to see it. That's it. That is my breakdown on Zhang versus Joyce 2 for the WBO Interim Heavyweight title. Again, it takes place Saturday, September 23rd on ESPN. Check it out earlier in the day, because that's when the fight will take place. And that's it. That's what I got. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.